Who the fuck is Stacy? And why is she so mad? It is almost impossible to keep track of everyone mentioned in this book, but I think I may have come up with a way to help. So the book is about Chris, girl, and Mark, boy, on the fateful night that they meet. Mark is trying to get over his ex, Jill, who left him for Jack, and Chris is trying to get over her ex, David, who left her for Lisa. So she goes out on the town with her best friend, Bryn, while Mark does the same with his best friend, Chet. Hey, can you put your phone down? This is important. After a couple hours, Chris and Bryn meet a girl named Callie, who's described as an insane person even though she talks in the exact same way as every other character. They eventually meet up with Vanessa, who spends the entire night getting on everybody's nerves because she won't stop filming them. Meanwhile, Mark and Chet meet up with a guy named Skip, who I thought for sure would end up being the love interest of either Callie or Vanessa, but he ends up meeting a girl named Lola at one of the bars they go to on their way to Roger's friend's apartment party. His name is Anton, and he's dating Debbie. Before any of that though, Mark and Chet meet up with their friends Charles and Vicky, but they leave after 2 pages to go have sex. So then Mark and Chet go to a bar to get drinks from Bonnie the bartender, whose name is spelled 2 different ways. There they meet Dina, Lorna, and Anna, who may sound like a band of rambunctious chipmunks, but are actually 3 human women. Things don't work out with any of them though, and they also don't work out with the girl named Melanie because she has a boyfriend. Before leaving the bar, they give their business cards to Miranda and Panda, 2 different people, but we never hear from either of them ever again. Meanwhile, Chris and Bryn share a 2-page interaction of their own with their friends Madeline and Lamar, before chatting it up with Barry the bartender, who they're both attracted to, but he's gay, I think? I don't know. Everybody in this book flirts with service workers, but they never pursue them romantically. Instead, they talk to Ron and Ian, who get into a fist fight with each other, forcing them to leave the bar. Luckily, they have somewhere to go because Chris got a text from her friend Holly, who's hanging out with Bob and Steve. Eventually, Vanessa's sister Jane joins the group, along with Sarah and the aforementioned Holly, who's dating Colin, even though nobody likes Colin. The problem with Colin is that he doesn't appreciate Holly as much as he should, but it turns out they actually broke up yesterday and just didn't tell anyone because they didn't want to spoil the mood. The irony, of course, being that news of their breakup would have only improved the mood because Colin sucks. Also, Dan is here. No one knows who Dan is, so I don't know what he's doing in the group. So that's kind of the main core of the group. But then, for seemingly no reason other than to just make things more complicated for us, Vanessa gets a text from her friend Ruby, who tells her about Hannah, Billy, Chloe, Nick, Layla, and Sarah. Now this is of course a different Sarah than the one we already met, because this Sarah has an H in her name. In fact, someone, and I truly mean someone because he does not specify who says this in a scene that has 97 people in it, says that they know 7 Sarahs. So that makes 5 additional Sarahs just hanging out in the Nathan Bailett Marina rom-com universe. Then Vanessa, who's clearly very popular, gets a text from Chantel, who updates her about Oscar, Isaac, Leo, Abby, Ezra, and Ellis, and then a text from Shane, who tells her about Camille, Blaine, Tallulah, Blair, Emma, and Blake. Now, if you're worried about having to remember all these names, don't be, because they never get brought up again. Finally, the group makes it to Roger's friend Anton's apartment building for his apartment party, but they never make it past the lobby of the apartment because Roger does something to get everyone mad, so Bryn throws a cocktail in his face, and then the police show up, and then they all go get pancakes, which you may remember from the title. All right, well, that's all of the characters in Passion or Pancakes, but you're probably wondering who ends up with who. And I'm so glad you asked. Mark ends up with Chris, and Skip ends up with Vanessa, and Holly ends up with Chet. Ooh, that's a surprise. And then finally, Bookworm Brenda ends up with Peter the Reader. A perfect match. Except Peter has a girlfriend, so he just fucks off and she ends up all alone. Well, there you have it. I know it may look like a lot to remember, but if you ever find yourself reading Passion or Pancakes, which I highly recommend, it's a great book, great gift. Mother's Day is coming up in a couple months. I know what I'll be getting my mom. I'm going to be getting her 12 copies. But if you ever find yourself reading the book and you're at all confused, feel free to open up this video and refer back to this simple chart. You're welcome. I think